So today we continue our series of talks, especially we speak about Buddha's quality. And the Pali verses, what we usually refer to, you all know, it sounds like this. Itipiso bhagava arahant samma sambuddho vijja charana sampanno sugato loka vidu anuttaro purisa dhamma sarati satta deva manussanam buddho bhagavati. So this is on Pali, all qualities of the Buddha. And what we focus today, we focus on the phrase vijja charana sampanna. So sampanna, it's a Pali word meaning to one who have or one who accomplished. Charana, it's a behavior or practice. And vijja, that's what we're going to discuss. And if we look at the dictionary, we have three different definitions of the word vijja. So one is knowledge, second is science, and the last one is kind of magic. So what do you think? What kind of vijja we're going to discuss with reference to quality of the Buddha? So you may write the answer in the chat. Number 1, number 2, or number 3. Okay, I see everyone who writes the answer number 1. So it's true, as you know from the name of the talk, speak about knowledge. So vijja, it's usually referred to deep understanding of the nature of reality and how the mind and body working together. So it's not the same as only theoretical knowledge or just learning itself. It's usually based on personal realization of the truth. So, and the Buddha's vijja is considered to be comprehensive and the perfect. So, and it says it is a basis for the ability to teach others and lead them to liberation. So it's quite a comprehensive term. And to understand it a little bit more deeper, we may go through 3 different approaches, I would say. So the first approach would be through opposite to avijjā. As you know, like usually in Pali, the prefix a or na, it means like opposite or not. So we have avijjā on one side and we have avijjā on another side. So avijjā, it's very common term in Buddhism and it means ignorance or not knowing. So it says it's primary root for all evil and all suffering in the world. So, and avijjā or ignorance usually abstracting the person from seeing the true nature of things. So its ignorance tricks beings of making things appear to be permanent or happy or have some substance or beautiful. And also it prevents them to see its reality. A reality is opposite what we just discussed. Its things are impermanent, unsatisfactory, empty of I or my, and unattractive in their nature. So in another places, ignorance defined as not understanding the Four Noble Truths, not knowing the suffering, not knowing the origin and cessation of suffering, and not knowing the way leading to its cessation. So, and if we see in Sutta Pitaka, in Majjhima Nikāya 11, Chula Sihanada Sutta, and it says, when ignorance, so means avijjā, is abundant and vijja or knowledge has been arisen in monk or any practitioner, so he no longer clings to any sense of vijja, no longer clings to views, no longer clings to rules and observance, and no longer clings to sense of self. And when it's happening, when he does not cling, he not agitated. When he not agitated, he personally attains nibbana. So it's a little bit different, give us a little bit different flavor of understanding what is vijja and avijjā. And here we speak about 4 different kinds of clinging. So clinging for sensual pleasure, it's clear, yeah, the person cling or desire an essential pleasure. It's a pleasure would come from 5 sense organs. And another clinging is clinging to views. So person may have view, person may have a, in a way, correct outlook, but he does not cling anymore to this as I or my, or like kind of something belong to me. So he's not attached to it. Then clinging to rites and rituals or observance and rules. So it's kind of clinging to things, like whatever practice I do or whatever morality I have. And then I cling to this as these only things would lead me to liberation. So practicing only this, I would attain liberation. So person don't have this clinging anymore. And the last clinging, it's a clinging to sense of self. So one thing, person may have a view that, okay, there is no self in the 5 aggregates. Another thing, person may have sense of self. So the person, what we describe, who don't have any ignorance, he don't have this one kind of sense of self. So it's a little bit different, I would say, perspective on the what is vijjā, what is avijjā. Another perspective, it's in suttas this term called te-vijjā, 3 vijjā, 3 knowledge. So, and this 3 knowledge, what Buddha, like one by one, attained before his enlightenment. And interesting to mention that before person, like in this case Buddha, but in case of Arahants, it's happened as well. So he have to purify his mind and make his mind workable. And so to say, his mind purified, his mind bright, his mind unblemished or free from any imperfection. His mind wide or like unlimited, workable, steady, and undisturbed. So he prepared his mind, he put his mind in this condition, and then apply his mind towards first knowledge. It's a knowledge of the recollection of the past lives. So he may recollect many past lives, and with all details. There was my name, there was my clan name, there was my appearance, there was my food, and so on. So he can recollect all the details about about one of the life. And then he recollect also how he passed away from that existence and being reborn in another existence, and so on. So he may recollect many past lives. So it's kind of one knowledge, one vijjā. And then attaining this, the next step, he apply his mind towards knowledge of passing away and reappearance of beings. So they call it dibba-chakku, with divine eye, what is much higher than human eye, of course. He saw how beings pass away and reappear according to their karma, according to their deeds. And one kind of beings, he may see it, he definitely see it, how they behaved wrongly by body, speech, and mind. And also they may criticize noble ones, they have wrong views, and they act according to their own views, accordingly. So, and because of this, after death, they reappear in bad destination, even in hell. And on opposite side, beings who didn't misbehave by body, speech, and mind, didn't criticize noble ones and have a right view and act accordingly. So after death, they being reborn in the heaven, in good destination. So he saw how beings pass away and reborn in different planes of existence according to their deeds, according to their actions. So, and lastly, after this, he applied his mind towards knowledge of destruction of taints, or asava, they call it on Pali. So effluence, another translation. And he directly knows, as it actually is, there is a suffering, there is an origin of suffering, there is cessation, and there is a way leading to the cessation of suffering. So he directly knows Four Noble Truths. And also together with this, he knows there is a taints, and there is an origin of taints, cessation of taints, and the way leading to its cessation. So, and after he knowing this, his mind become liberated from any taints. Taints of, taints to sensual desire, taints to being or becoming, or taints to ignorance. So he completely liberated. And when there's liberation, there is a knowledge it is liberated, meaning the mind is liberated. So he directly knows the birth is destroyed. You know, this stock phrase in the sutta usually happen when the person attains enlightenment to become Arahant. Birth is destroyed, the holy life has been lived, what has to be done is done. There is no more coming to any state of beings. So this is a tree knowledge, like especially with the last one, person attained pure and complete liberation. There is no anything else kind of remind. So later we will discuss what's the difference between like Arahant in his knowledge and the Buddha. And another approach, how we may understand vijjā, it's according to the Visuddhimagga, there is 8 kinds of knowledge. They call it 6 higher superior knowledge, avijjā, insight or vipassana, and the psychic power, iddhi. So what is the psychic power? Like, so to say, really, having become one, he may become many. Or having become many, he may become one. Or he may appear or vanish according to his desire or wish. He may go unobstructed through a wall or through any obstacle, as like through the space. He may dive or go in or go out in the earth, as it were water. He may walk on the water without sinking, as it were earth. Or seated cross-legged, he may travel in the space like a bird. Or with the hands, he may touch and stroke the moon and the sun. So powerful. So it's kind of many various psychic power. What sounds more like what we discussed before, like one of the translation of vijjā, it's a magic, yeah, all these kind of things. Another avijjā, it's called divine ear. So the person with again purified and like much higher than the human, he can hear both sounds, the human sounds and divine sounds, what is far or near, everywhere. And another psychic power, another avijjā, he may understand or he may see or read mind of other beings. So he knows clearly when the mind with greed, when the mind without greed, when the mind with hatred or without hatred of another being, of another person, when the confused mind or not confused mind, when constructed, unconstructed, developed, concentrated, or liberated. So any kind of mind, he can read another person's mind. Another thing, it's vipassana knowledge. So vipassana knowledge, as we all know, I hope, it's an intuitive understanding of the impermanence, suffering, or satisfactory, and the impersonality, or the nature what don't have a substance, like there's nothing to be clinged as a self. So everywhere in material or mental dimension. And also knowledge of understanding conditional nature of reality. So we see how things arise, how things pass away, on what condition, and so on. So it was 3 variations how to understand vijjā. And now the question is, I think, very interesting. Like, what's the difference between the Buddha, what kind of vijjā the Buddha had, and what kind of vijjā Arahants may have? Because actually what we discussed, almost everything in various way can be applied to Arahants as well. Because there are Arahants who may, let's say, read the mind of other person, yeah, or have a divine ear, divine eye, or read past lives. So all these things can be obtained by Arahant. And maybe to understand this a little bit more, we may quote the sutta from Samyutta Nikaya 56.31, Sīsapāvana Sutta. So the Buddha say, the things I have directly known, but have not taught you are numerous, meaning many. There are a lot of things what he directly known, but didn't taught. While the things I have taught, very few. Why? Why it's so? So the Buddha know by his personal experience a lot of things, but tell us very few things. Like the context is he takes the leaves from the ground and shows the monks like how many leaves here and how many leaves around in this forest. And Bhikkhu say, of course, like the leaves around much more. And he say exactly similar to this kind of handful of leaves. It's very few things what I told you from all what I know from personal experience. And the leaves all around, it's all what I know. But why it's happening? Because the things, what is all, they are in majority unbeneficial, unrelevant, and they're not related to the fundamental of the holy life. So, and these things doesn't lead to disenchantment, to dispassion, to cessation, to peace, and to direct knowledge, to enlightenment, to nibbana. So, the Buddha actually know things much more bigger than what we discuss, than what we may even understand. It's one of the things what we actually shouldn't try intellectually understand, because it may lead to our like madness. Person can go mad trying to understand what actually Buddha understand. We need to know only things what really related to liberation and related to the way leading to liberation. So, and we may say that while the Arahant has the same level of the spiritual enlightenment and liberation, same as a Buddha, but they're not considered to have the same level of understanding and knowledge as a Buddha. So the vijjā, or knowledge of Arahants, it's said to be limited to their own individual experience and perspectives. So they by themselves attain liberation, and they know, they have understanding how they get there, but they kind of limited to their personal experience. And they are not considered to be capable to teach others in the same way as the Buddha. So, and also saying this, we're not trying to put down, of course, experience of other Arahant. They are still worthy to be praised, they're worthy of hospitality and so on. But we cannot compare their knowledge with the Buddha. So, I think we may come to question and answer.
Just now you mentioned about your
We don't have a sound.
knowledges. How about your own experiences towards the talk that you just given? Maybe you can share your personal experiences.
What inspired me to the practice, like reading these kind of things, inspire me that it's actually possible to attain liberation if you really practice and following the Four Noble Truths and Eightfold Path, Noble Eightfold Path. And also this reflection, when you see that the mind of an Arahant can be free from any effluence, any kind of taints, any agitation. So, because we may have in meditation practice, we may have temporary experience of this, when your mind free from hindrances, when your mind free from any defilements, any like worry, agitation, or anger, or any sensual desire. And this is wonderful state. Yeah, like only the problem is this state doesn't last long, and since we have our underlying tendency, since we have our personal inclination, what we develop through many times in this life, or even in past lives, there is a lot. So it's come back again. But just thought about, or imagination, how it's possible to really be completely free from this. And I mean, it's possible, according to the suttas, according to many other teachers who speak from their own experience. It's wonderful, and just this kind of inspiration, it's motivate me, and it's kind of lead. I see it as a goal in the holy life.
With regards to intellectual understanding, right? Yeah, just now, Bhante, you brought up you mentioned about intellectual understanding. I'm just wondering, how can we actually increase our, how do we obtain insights? I mean, usually it's like we have intellectual understanding through, like, reading and hearing Dhamma talks, but it's not really, really understanding or insights. So I'm just wondering, how can we actually attain that insights?
Mhm. Oh, thank you. Very good question. Interestingly, that I remember Bhante Agachita tells that it's very important to collect the data through, let's say, if the practice is open awareness, we are aware of all our senses. So, and we collect the data. We see how, like, things arise, pass away, and so on. And we have in the background this, as you mentioned, the theoretical knowledge that we know that things are impermanent. Things doesn't bring complete satisfaction. Things are not worthy to be clinged as I or my. And we collect data, and we may, when the time is right, when the mind is ready, we may bring this kind of little bit, like, noticing the things, like, okay, things are impermanent, and just maybe help a little bit to call it, to put this kind of label, or like impermanence, or things arise again, or things. So, but slowly this intellectual noticing may become more intuitive things. Of course, like, for this very important condition, the minds need to be settled enough. So these things I don't think it would work when your mind is a little bit agitated, when there is a lot of thinking happening. So mind need to be settled. And if, like, no any insight come, if you just see things, you just continue collecting data. You just continue to watch things and notice like, as the impermanent, because usually impermanent is the things what more easy to notice, it's more understandable for us to notice impermanence in all phenomena. If it's open awareness, we may see impermanence of the sound, impermanence of the sensations, and just collect data for the time being. And sooner or later, when data would be enough and the mind would be settled enough, the insight will come.
Thank you, Bhante. Just a follow-up question on that, right? So how do we know that it's insight, it's the right, it's the real insight? Is it just merely knowing that it's impermanent, or is it that we feel more at peace with ourselves? Bhante, can you enlighten me on that? Thank you.
So one interesting thing, what I think many teachers say, like, whatever we kind of expect from insight or from any deep realization, the things would be not like this. So whatever we may imagine ourselves, whatever we may kind of hear maybe from others or read in the books, it's just description of things. It's not the things as they are. And we shouldn't expect to experience things according to the description what we may kind of read or something. All the descriptions help us to point out or what to do or like where to look, but what we need to see, it would be different thing. Another thing, it's more like, as I usually say, it's not like intellectual understanding, but it's more like things what, maybe as you describe, kind of bright your mind. It's, you kind of don't have a doubt that things are impermanent. At least this may be, of course, temporary, because like ultimate insight, as we read in the suttas, it's more like real enlightenment. It's more like in ultimate sense. But what we aim on, it's a temporary experience of like intuitive understanding of things. But the purity and the calmness of the mind, these things, I would say, it's precondition. As we discussed before, like for this kind of tree knowledge, like, of course, it's much higher knowledge, like recollection of past life and so on. But in every case, the precondition of the mind, it's a mind what is like pure, what is workable, what is like imperturbable, you know, he's like without any disturbance. So these things we may achieve by just be aware of things. So more like kind of samatha practice, be aware of things without any reflection, without any investigation. And when the mind become really pure and bright, then we may expect some deep insight happening.
Āyasmā, just thinking, since we said that the knowledge that the Arahant have and what the Buddha knows, the knowledge that the Buddha has is very, very vastly different. I mean, the Buddha knows a lot more than the Arahant. Now, taking note that if the enlightenment is the same, that means, I don't know, the Buddha has an Arahant also break through and gain insight to gain the knowledge. Now, what is the difference? Why is it the Buddha has so much more knowledge compared to an Arahant? Is it the knowledge that he has here is not gained just in this last life? Is it an accumulation of his past life, this knowledge that he has?
Okay, thank you. So yes, like mainly we may say like why it's happening. It's another question. It happened like this, and this is the reality. So the Buddha has this knowledge. We may read in some latest text, yeah, they usually say that Buddha like perfect in his parami, in his perfection, and he completed throughout the many lifespan before. But what we may mainly see, we may see like what's the result of it. Yeah. So because of this, because the Buddha has these qualities, he able to teach others, and he able to teach others uncomparably with anyone else, because we know like other monks are also able to explain Dhamma and describe, but Buddha have a special knowledge, like he may know what person exactly need that time, and he may know that his mind is ready. He needs just a little things, a little more hint or little more kind of direction where to look. And sometimes even we know from the suttas, Buddha preach some sutta or some discourse for only one person, and it may even that he may make wait other people only when this person is come. So this is a special quality of the Buddha. The Buddha able to teach to everyone, like who ready again. So because we say that Buddha have a perfect quality to teach the people who able to be tamed. Yeah, to tame people who able to be tamed. Of course, not everyone able. Like there are also a lot of examples when people just pass near the Buddha and didn't even notice that it was a Buddha, it was a special beings, because they was not ready. So we also cannot say that he will teach everyone, because not everyone ready. But he for sure will teach everyone who ready, whose condition are ripe enough. So this is a special condition.
Yeah, Bante, just a follow-up question from just now, Sister Aimee has asked you. Do you have any like illustration or your personal experience, like insight that you have gained? Because maybe we don't understand how is considered an insight. You have any examples, so like can share with us?
So mostly, thank you for question. So mostly like kind for the purpose of understanding what is this, yeah, it may be helpful to many people share that together with insight come some kind of relief. Then because for example, my mind was kind of stuck before with one idea or with one way of seeing things, or like one perception maybe, and this was a problem for the person. And then with this kind of insight, he may have a look on the things totally differently. Like he may see, oh, it's just the nature of things. It's just a kind of causes and conditions. So like I heard one kind of story. So the person was like there was some problem before when some ideas or desire arise in his mind, and he was not able to kind of control them. So he went by kind of sensual desire to get some things what maybe was not suitable in his position. But then I mean, of course, this is a way how sankhara, how desire work and how it arises. And in another way, he was doing his like walking meditation, and he clearly watched his desires or sankhara or any volitional formation. So, and while his eyes was open, he walked, and he suddenly looked at his phone, and there was a desire straight away that he wanted to take this phone and like do something. So because it's like maybe it was new phone, very nice object to him. And then he realized that, okay, before I didn't have any desires. I did walking meditation, my mind was calm, everything was nice, but now suddenly I have this desire. So what was the reason? I didn't choose it. It was not my intentional choice that I want to have this desire to take the phone and play with this phone. So what's happening? And then following up, he start to investigate, because we see like this kind of insight. It's not only three characteristics, it's also causes and conditions. So why things arise. You start to see like why things arise, what's happening. And he see it just because of the contact. So he walk, and to his area of eyes, of vision, there was object, phone. And of course, because of some precondition, because he liked this phone and so on. But the fact is there was a contact. And because of this contact, like things happening, and suddenly the desire arises. So, and this understanding, this small understanding, we may read it in suttas, it's contact and so on. But this understanding was very relevant in his situation, because he saw like, okay, there is any desire arise and I cannot control it. It's my, or like, I want to do this. But this example show him, it's just because of the contact, this desire might arise. And that's why his mind become suddenly very calm and very like relaxed. So there's no any, and maybe even kind of laughing person start to laugh, like how I really can be followed or motivated by this desire. Because like this desire with the phone, all other sensual desires, they also arise just because of the contact. So, and this, I would say, the clear difference between intellectual understanding and insight would be kind of bright feelings and maybe relief from any tension or any like uncomfortable feelings. So this may help to you to understand what is the difference between insight and intellectual understanding.
Yeah, I think Bhante, you have forward a good examples, illustration, like the contact actually has bring the desire. So we seldom listen to like these real life examples. I think maybe if Bhante possible for you to give another one or two examples, maybe participants or me can get more how like this is like an insight during walking or during our day life. Is it possible, Bhante, you share with us one or two more examples so that we can practice, try to get it's like this, we can get the insight.
Okay. So maybe another thing what come to mind, it's like when you have any like desire to enjoy taste, like let's say I like some sweet things, yeah, and like we usually, why we like sweet things or any other things like spicy or whatever taste, because we have strong belief or strong kind of even sometimes subconscious belief that these things make us happy, these things make me feel good, these things like they were tasty, I like this, enjoy, and so on. But when you like try to see, maybe with clear mind, like maybe sometime even like really maybe see it or do walking and attain this kind of mind, what is pure and like without any movement, very stable, and then taste the sugar or anything what you like, just with clear meditative mode, I would say, of mind. Taste the things and ask yourself a question like, what exactly I like it? How, what means I like it? Like, because I like it, it's just a word. What it means? Like, what part of this experience I like and how long this like lasts? So kind of try to break this experience of attachment or experience of desire to many things and just see like, what is this actually? And interestingly that like by clear watching this process of tasting something sweet, we may see that actually liking part there is very little. Like we mostly just proliferate or imagine things that we like, but really like we can feel sweet taste, and even this sweet taste is impermanent. It's not really kind of lasting long. It's just like sometimes sweet, and then it's like maybe nothing, and then again might imagine think something, and then again focus on sweet things. So among all this experience of when I take one bit of something sweet, actually the real part, what is I think that it's enjoy and like give me some joy, they were little. And if we closely inspect these small parts, they also, we may say actually only that it's just this kind of taste, because whatever my reaction, it come already from mind. So, and this like close and direct inspection of what you like it's even I heard from one senior monk, he asked him like, oh Bhante, what to do, what kind of meditation you would recommend me to do? And he just told, see how you like things or not like, see how you like, how you enjoy in any experience, or and what you not enjoy, and not just like one thing is notice this, another thing, while you noticed already things what you enjoy, try to pay close attention, like what means enjoyable, what means things nice, what actually it means. And then again, same as with another experience what I told you before, once you see this clearly how it's happening, yeah, because of the contact and so on, then some kind of relief may come, that you don't really, you see how it's in a way silly or funny that you try to run and chase for this kind of sensual pleasure, sometimes do a lot of effort to obtain this small second of sensual pleasure or any other things.
Just now you mentioned the light of the taste is a portion of the sensation, and you mentioned about imagination or the mind professor. Yeah, can you mention more about this one? The mind things.
Yes. So because of the experience happening, yeah, like there's a contact happening, like let's say with kind of painful sensation, let's say, yeah, like you sit a lot and you feel pain in your leg, for example. And one thing is clearly some vedana happening, some sensation, some feelings, so painful feelings. Another thing, we mentally react on this. So in Buddha's teaching, they call it like kind of truth of the second arrow. Yeah, like one arrow, it's like when this just physical pain, we cannot avoid this. If we have body, we would have time after time physical pain. But in other things, we mentally or with mind, we react on this. We're not happy with this. We cannot be satisfied. We cannot accept this. Oh, I don't want pain. I want to run away from this. I don't like this. And we try to run away from this, or mentally we're not satisfied with this. So we kind of second time receive this arrow exactly in the same place. So, but ideally we able, because it's in our ability with experience really avoid this second arrow. So experience physical pain, we cannot avoid these things. Even like the Buddha, we have references in the suttas. When the Buddha have a back pain and he said, okay, like I need to lie down, now I have a back pain, please another venerable continue and give a Dhamma talk to monks. So physical pain is impossible to avoid. But the mental reaction on this physical pain, it's in our capabilities. But interesting things about this, that I'm sure many of us already hear this simile of the second arrow. And here in this simile, practitioner can have in mind idea that, okay, now I have to avoid this second arrow. Now I have to avoid this mental reaction. But it's kind of our things what we develop through this life, through many previous lifetimes. So it's very difficult to overcome this. It's very difficult not to react. And that's why, especially at the beginning and in the, I would say, long time at the beginning, person may not succeed. So, but because he knows the Buddha encouraged me not to react, the Buddha encouraged me that it's in my capability, I can avoid this, but I'm not succeed. I cannot do it straight away. That's why some people call it the third arrow. So the person beat himself even third time. Oh, how I can, I'm a disciple of the Buddha, why I cannot follow his teaching, blah, blah, blah. So rather than, because actually Buddha's teaching lead to be free from suffering, but person who grasps this teaching wrongly, he just beat himself even more. So we need to be very careful, like not to admit our own like abilities. Okay, now condition is like this. Now I'm reacting on things like this. I know what to do. I know the way. Okay, let me in my own speed go there, but not blame myself like, oh, why I'm so bad and so on. So everyone have a different capacities. Important things to be clearly with our understanding where to go and how to go. But when we reach there, it's another story.
But since the Buddha is accomplished knowledge, can he predict the future?
Yeah, very interesting question. Honestly, I would also have this question. Because, I mean, we don't have clear references, as I'm aware, when the Buddha clearly say, this is happened exactly in this way. We have references when the Buddha, according to his discernment and understanding, can say that where like this or that may lead, what may happen in future, because he understands how things work. So sometimes when you know the person, yeah, you may predict his action in future. You don't have to read like future or read his mind. You from experience, you know how things may happen. So these things we have a lot, but exactly things as like Buddha say, okay, in this year would be end of the world, or so on. So these things we don't have in our canonical literature. That's why we cannot like directly answer to your question. But we for sure may know that Buddha, with his discernment, again, can see how things may like unfold in the future. We have a lot of references in this. That he predict, for example, decline of the Sāsana. Yeah, he predict like then in the future, like text may be corrupt and so on. Again, for this, you don't have to read the future. You just need to have some understanding of the mind. And in case of Buddha, he have like ultimate understanding of the mind, and that's why he may predict these things.
Does the Buddha know everything? Does he have unlimited knowledge?
So yes, as we read, as we saw in the sutta, that the Buddha teach to us only this kind of amount of what he know. So he may know much more than we actually need, and when it's needed for Nibbana. But like his knowledge much more broad, and for sure, like where he apply his mind and what he like kind of need to know, then he has this ability to see it. But when like person, for example, don't apply his mind elsewhere, how this knowledge may come? Yeah, like That's why this idea of the Buddha is omniscient, like he knows everything everywhere in like always. So this idea we cannot find in the suttas. So we don't have any references about this.
Just curious, right? Sometimes I am actually with Kalyamita sometimes, right? Who has like kind of like a higher spiritual practice, and they can like tell me that they can sense like, you know, whether I'm negative or positive. I mean, they can feel the positive or negative energy of a person. So I'm wondering if that is because due to the spiritual cultivation that they have developed, or is it that they are born with this psychic power? So it's kind of scary sometimes to be near these people.
Yeah, thank you. I understand that. Indeed, like I also have some experience that people who have some mature spiritual faculties, they may have a sense of, but I never experienced actually the person who can maybe read my mind. At least no one tell me, but it's possible, at least possible to meet such people who may sense, like they call it sense aura, you know, something like this. They can sense like maybe you a little bit sad or you a little bit like happy. You don't say about this, you don't express it on your face, but you kind of embody this, and the person may feel. The person may say, "Oh, like why? What's happening? I feel that something wrong with you," or like opposite, "Why? Like I see you kind of happy." So partly they may be very good psychologists, you know, they can read even small expression on the face, and partly maybe it's kind of my guess. We cannot be sure because we don't have much references. At least I'm not aware of such references in the sutta, in canonical text. But yes, like I think from some spiritual maturity, person may have a more sensitivity, I would say. So he would understand his own mind better, and that's why he may feel other person's mind also better. So I think it's based on this. But again, like I don't think that it's something to be afraid of. It's even I think it's even better to have this Kalyanamitta who you don't need to tell him much, and he may feel, oh, like, okay, you need empathy, you need to have like he need to listen you, or he need to offer for you some water or some help or anything. I think it's good to have such person. You don't need to be afraid.
Bante, just now you mentioned there's a like, I guess if not mistaken, what I understand, like when we taste the sugar, the taste of the sweetness is one of the things that we like, but there are something like we imagine, or the mind imagine, then actually we satisfy the mind. Is there such a thing? Maybe Bante, you can illustrate more about. I guess there are some imagination from my own experience. Actually, the thing is not so happy, but our mind imagine it. Maybe Bante can illustrate more about this.
Yeah. So I think these things would be very helpful to see again, like with that example what I gave. And here I think the same principle of, in a way, second arrow would work only in a positive sense, because in the example of pain, by one thinks it's physical pain, another thing is mental reaction on this. With the example of sugar, it would have the same principle, because you have a like taste, and from this contact with the tongue, in a way, there is a Vedana arise. There is a like pleasant sensations, yeah. And these things arise, like we cannot avoid this. But our reaction on it, because our mind reacts usually, oh, I like it, it's pleasant, I like it, I like to take it always, I like to have access to this, I like to know, like, okay, there is a cupboard with the sugar, and I like it feel fully. But this is exactly mental reaction. We have a Vedana, we have a pleasant feelings, yes, it's there, but mostly what we like, we react on this. And it's the same principle of the kind of second arrow. and really would be very helpful to identify in your life what you like more, where you really kind of lose your mind, yeah, where you like what you enjoy more in your life, and try to like bring up this experience when your mind is clean and pure and steady. So at that time, try to carefully see what is this, like what is happening, and how really I enjoy, like, or really my mind proliferate about this, my mind make a big story about these things, but in reality just one small taste happening actually. What we usually do, I think this would be more clear like with this kind of careful attention and wise attention on the experience of especially something like what you like, because something what you not like, I mean, I think it's more difficult. I would say it would be second step. One thing I think it's good to analyze something what is pleasant, and other things on another occasion analyze something what is unpleasant. But the thing is, we don't have to force this unpleasantness to happen. Rather than with a pleasant experience, we can deliberately like come to meditation, attain this stability of the mind, and then intentionally eat something to arouse this pleasant experience. Then with unpleasant experience, we don't have to intentionally force this, because these things always happening in our life. But with pleasant experience, we can plan it. I think it would be more easy.
Yeah, Namo Buddhaya, Bhante. Bhante, I just wish to ask, if let's say the Buddha is omniscient, know all everything, all these things, why is that reason, okay, that when the Buddha accepted the meal from Chunda, this last meal, all right, he knew that that meal that he takes is definitely it's going to cause him a lot of pain, he's going to be suffering a lot, everything, and yet he took that that meal. And then after that, asked Ananda to quickly take that the food that he was offered to bury it and everything. Could you give a reason why did the Buddha want to take this this meal when he knows that it's actually he's going to suffer a lot, a lot of pain and everything? Why did he want to do that?
Yeah, it's interesting. But the thing is, if we know from Sutta that actually it was already time for the Buddha to pass away. We know from, I think it's Digha Nikaya Sutta, when the Mara came to the Buddha even several times, and there was a discussion that, okay, it's already time for the Buddha to pass. And firstly, the Buddha told like, okay, it's not the time yet. I need to prepare the Sangha, I need to teach the Sangha a lot. And then later only Mara came to him and say, okay, now it's time, now the Sangha is ready. So it was already time. And that situation with Chunda and with the meal, it was just in a way kind of culmination of the things what have to happen anyway. So the Buddha have a physical body, yeah, what have to die sooner or later. And I don't think that it was kind of sudden and Buddha didn't expect it. So the things have to happen. And like kind of mostly for me, I want to get some inspiration from these things to understand like what kind of knowledge the Buddha have. And the inspiration can be to read and understand, like, because these things of knowledge of the Buddha, of the Arahant, it cannot be attained, and it's actually the goal of spiritual practice. And like to read through and to understand the way how to attain there, I think it would be much more useful spending of my time, of my like interest, because we have a limited capacity. I heard from one venerable that we have a limited capacity of our interest and attention, and if we spread our attention all around, like, oh, what is this, what is this, what is this, we don't have really we cannot maintain the strong effort on things what are necessary. That's why, like, these things, like, it can be interesting, like as a mind exercise, or like if things would be like this or like that. But I think it would be much more important to focus what are the things what important in my own way to purity of the mind, to my own liberation, and then go to this and like to see which kind of qualities of the Buddha may inspire me to practice more.
The Buddha has knowledge of recalling past lives. What is the implication or significance of this knowledge?
Yes, thank you. Good question. So one thing, very often, especially people who practice some deep meditation, deep kind of level of concentration, they may report that it's so wonderful to attain this state of mind when your mind is like entirely stable and like filled with joy and happiness. And the like people who meditate a lot, they may really be in that state for quite a while, for a long time. And so like for them it can be kind of ignorant idea arise that, oh, I may be in this state for a long time, and even like after death, because the sutta speak a lot about these things, that if person in a jhana state practice a lot and even die in that state, he may be reborn as a deva and live for a long time in that state of mind. But once person see by his personal experience that he actually was wandering in this samsara many times, a lot of lives he went through, and sometimes he was enjoying this deva life, sometimes he was in like unhappy destination, even hell. So, and this bring him kind of wisdom that even chasing after this subtle spiritual pleasure, because of course like chasing after sensual pleasure, I mean, it's for a person who practice some meditation, it's obvious that it's not something what need to be chased, yeah. But even that subtle pleasure of like joy and happiness in meditation, and then the state of more equanimous, more like neutral state, even that state is impermanent. And from recollecting his past life, he may see that he was in that state. He was in that because all of us, like according to all this understanding, that all of us already was in heaven, in hell, and like we wander in this samsara for a long time. But for most of the people, it's more like belief in a way. So we read the sutta, we believe in rebirth. But for a person who directly see it, for him there's no doubt. There is no doubt that he need to strive for, like, end up with this samsara, like, finish with this. So I think the main benefit of this knowledge, it's like there's no doubt that there is a rebirth. And with the second knowledge, if we speak, there is no doubt about causes and conditions in terms of karma. So the person sees that the beings with some kind of behavior, some kind of livelihood, they've been reborn in such destination, yeah, according to their practice, according to that how they live their life. So in this way, the person understands that one thing, rebirth is happening, samsara is going on, and it's went for many lifetimes. Another things, law of karma working, and then I'm not accidentally get these things. And so this strongly may give him kind of sense of disenchantment, that there's nothing here to cling, nothing here to be delighted, nothing clear to be cherished. So, and then the person can be free from absence of clinging. That's what our goal, that's where we go.
Bante Devamitta?
Yes.
Anything you wish to conclude? I think there's no more questions today.
So the only things what I again want to maybe emphasize, that it's good to see and find what in the story of the Buddha's life, or when we see descriptions of this or that quality, see and find what quality really inspire me, what quality I would like to develop, what quality like would be wonderful to have. And this kind of inspiration to bring in our daily practice, to bring in our like reflection, maybe, like, because it's good to reflect why I do this, why I practice this or that, like what is my goal. And this inspiration can give you this kind of joy and happiness from following this holy life, following any kind of spiritual practice what lead you to ideally be free from suffering at all.
The question is, what's the difference between wisdom and insight?
So I would say that wisdom, it's more like quality what we develop, and insight, it's more like one-time event. Like by bringing this insight here and there, like in our practice, we build our wisdom. So wisdom is more like, I would say, accumulation of insights, accumulation of like understanding of reality. But insight is more like one-time event.